Look up. Look at that. We're live on the SideQuest, your wonderful weekly journey into the wide world of video games. I am one of your hosts, Dolly Domofsky. Joining me, the one, the only, Zach Quest.
It's me.
How's it going, my dude?
Pretty good.
That's good. That's good. What you drinking?
Sapporo.
Oh yeah, you
Japanese beer.
mentioned that. You guys were talking about that. Yeah. You had a good weekend of beer and food. You made me so jealous posting in the Discord about the barbecue place you went to.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So there is a local barbecue place here. And every year the pit boss or whatever does a party, and people come and hang out. And basically, but the thing about this place is a place that's open for 4 hours, 4 days of the week, but they're open until they sell out. So usually they're open three hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you go there, there's always a line around the building, all this stuff. It's great. Yeah, he had his birthday bash on Saturday, and they started serving food at 11, and we got in line at 10, and they started serving beers and free food and stuff, standing in line. And yeah, and we when we were the first 3 people to order our food, and we ate with my wife and her sister and her mom and my nephew. And then there are some friends that we saw that were basically a quarter back from where we were, and they texted us that they didn't start eating until 12:30, and we left at 11:30. So but yeah, it's just so good. I've never had food that good ever. But yeah, I was drunk drinking beer at 10 in the morning and listening to live music, and yeah.
That is cool. That's an awesome experience. I always love when places will do things like that, but because it's the actual owner of the place, he can they can kind of do whatever they want, which is awesome. Yeah, JJ has joined us, by the way.
Yeah.
Welcome to Food Chat. Finally. Yeah, sorry, you were gonna say.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's just so it's such a cool place because they're open and then they close within the hour usually because they sell out. People will come and order for all their friends and stuff. So it's just you have to be there right when they open, or you're not gonna get any food. So that's just how you know it's good.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, for sure. JJ, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going. I'm here.
You made it. You made it. Nice. Yeah, it's been. I was just telling Zach before the show started that we missed him at PAX, and we can do a quick mini recap of PAX because Zach wasn't there, and we ended up doing a podcast, and the audio was kind of horrible. Sorry for everybody. And we were all in a freaking. We were all in a room. There was 6 of us. 6 of us in a room, something like that, and we were just noisy and loud and smelly, and all at different points in the room, so the audio was trash. But
Taylor tucked in the back corner.
So when Taylor talks, I have to really adjust the audio. I think he was playing. He brought his Steam Deck with him in your room. Yeah. I think he was playing Steam Deck.
Everyone had their.
Everyone had something.
It was me and Johnny's room. So
yes, yeah. But it was a fun time.
The thing that was crazy to me is I talked about this in the Discord last night or something, but the Killer Clowns from Outer Space team, there are people on that team that were a part of a YouTube channel that I watched as a teen growing up, and sweet. I loved and I was obsessed with them, the head social media guy. One of the other guys, one of the directors and stuff, were a part of this group called The Creatures that I loved watching. And then they made Cow Chop. Some of those guys went to go do Cow Chop stuff. And if I was there, I would have legitimately freaked out because I was obsessed with those guys.
Zach freaking out about his YouTube stuff, me freaking out that the Kyoto brothers were right there taking a photo appreciative of the award that we've given. That was that was a crazy thing for
Mm.
me. I grew up as a Killer Clowns from Outer Space fan. I'm a huge fan of that movie. It's so stupid, and I love every minute of it. To meet the guys that made it was just like, yeah. I think that was my favorite part of the show for me.
Sure. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff there. It was a weird PAX because the overlap with GDC this year really kind of took.
You had a 1-2 punch where it was the overlap. Like it's like there was overlap with GDC last year too, but the PAX was pretty packed.
Yeah,
pun intended. But the problem is that everything that was shown off last year and has been in development for the past couple of years is like out now. So all of the like new stuff is popping up at GDC, and then so it's just like,
and companies really needed to understand where to put their money this year, and I think GDC was more important because we have new consoles on the way, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And so folks were trying to sell their indies, were trying to sell their games, their engines. Unreal was showcasing all that stuff. So there was definitely a lot of stuff happening that
West will probably be
back to normal,
like a bigger show this time, because West has always had the advantage of being in like September. Like there's it's very like, well, in state-wise there's not a lot going on.
So thankfully next year PAX is moving to May. PAX East is moving to May, which is very smart. Now, interestingly enough, Taylor posted in the Discord a while back that well, let me rephrase that. We had heard, we kind of talked about it a little bit on the show that Friday. We had heard that through a little bird that PAX was moving potentially to a different date, and then that got further corroborated. I don't know by somebody else who said, my words are not so good today. That by somebody else that said, what did you hear? And then I was kind of relaying the back and forth from industry insiders that I was hearing to the team. And then we had heard, based on someone on our panel, that, hey, no, it's moving to May next year. That's what they had heard. So we said, all right, May, that's interesting. Taylor did some digging and found the Reddit post that listed like the 10-year plan for PAX
like
that had
posted like 6 years ago.
And it was this was prior to COVID, obviously, but it listed all the dates for PAX. And really, what this means is that PAX, Penny Arcade and Reed Pop, you want to book these expo centers well in advance because you have to, because there's a lot of shows going on. This is the biggest one in the biggest area in Boston, this kind of convention center, or one of the biggest. And so you need to book this stuff ahead of time. Obviously, COVID threw a lot of curveballs in there. And so this year, especially, this is all to plan. All those dates had lined up from that Reddit post, including next year in May. And then don't be so excited for a full-time May move, because a lot of that's just next year. Looks like it's moving back to like March.
Well, when I was looking at the history of PAX, like it alternated. It was like 2 in April, 2 in March, 2 in May, 2 in March, 2 in May. It's kind of how it flip-flopped for a long time.
The other thing we did hear, though, again, I mentioned that was from like 6 years ago before COVID, yada yada. One thing we did hear was that PAX could potentially even change locations to a different city, but we don't know how much that is truthful. But regardless, it is next year.
Fair, like the city that we heard seems kind of unrealistic in a way.
Yeah.
It's like the location of like
Dublin.
Because,
no, just kidding.
Yeah, super east. Like it's going
super east. We are in. We're gonna be in Halifax, so right by good old Aaron. Aaron Kelly's backyard. We just doxed him. No,
Florida. It's gonna be in Florida.
Ooh, Florida would be kind of fun.
I'm trying to think.
That'd be the longest flight for you, JJ, probably.
I've taken that flight before. So
from America's shoulder to America's wang, all the way down. But yeah, so PAX. It was a lot of fun. We definitely missed you there. Hopefully next year we can all get together and
I'm just mad I missed out on the Final Fantasy 14 stuff, because they had a presence there.
Yeah, oh yeah, they were one of the bigger presences. Yeah,
yeah, and I
a
was
legit
like
panel, like not just like a
Yeah.
panel of them talking, like a legit
Yeah, no.
like breakdown
revealing
of
stuff.
things,
Yeah,
reveals
they
and-
did their developer thing that they usually save for like a fan fest, is usually
Mhm.
when they do those things.
Yeah.
They did that there at PAX,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like
They-
that's why I'm kind of like miffed. I missed it because it's that, and then I saw they had a whole setup with stuff. I was just like, I was pissed. It's like I should have
Easily
been
one
there.
of the consistently biggest lines was for the Final Fantasy 14 hands-on stuff,
Yeah.
because people really wanted the Final Fantasy 14 bucket hat that they were giving
Yeah,
away. to
that's
go with
true.
it.
But shout out to our friends from the Super Deformed Games cast that were, they're partnering with Square Enix, so they were all there. John and Derek and Nolan Nerdcast from our panel last year. A bunch of folks were there. It was great. They were helping out with it. We just got to do more Final Fantasy and Square Enix stuff, guys. That way we're going to be up on those stages too.
I heard something happened with like Mountain Dew. People were mad about
Mountain Dew. I don't know if they were mad, but Mountain Dew.
Boy, did they have a presence at that.
It was like they're the official sponsor, so like the soda company that was always there for years wasn't allowed to be there.
Oh, that was the that's true. So that's what happened to that soda.
Oh yeah, that fucking infinite soda thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw people on the Facebook group. They were mad. They were super upset about it.
It was real corporate this year. Dunkin' and like Mountain Dew were right next to each
Dunkin'
other.
Donuts, Mountain Dew, Idaho Potatoes.
Idaho Potatoes is there.
They all had like a gimmick. Like it was weird. Like because the Mountain Dew one had like you went into the booth and they had like two games. They had a Plinko game and a wheel game, and like you did the Plinko and you either got like Mountain Dew points, a pin, or a vault key that you could type in a code into the vault and you would win a prize. And the prize was like, you could get an Xbox Series S, or you could just get a bottle of Mountain Dew. Dally and I both won bottles of Mountain Dew.
That was perfect, man. I carried that shit around with me the whole time. It was awesome.
I got a Code Red. Hadn't had one of those in a very, very, very long time. But the Cheez-Its one, I don't even remember what, or not Cheez-Its. That was West. West had
that
Cheez-Its.
was West.
Dunkin' Donuts had just like some sort of like AR experience, like throwing balls at a screen for high score.
Yeah.
You could get a Dunkin' Donuts bucket hat, which I definitely saw Rocco from Mega 64 wearing most of the show.
Oh man, Kadia was there too. Don't forget the Kadia stuff.
Oh, Kadia. Oh man, there's some goofy shit at this. It's funny. So like, Zach, on the map, the actual like printed map, there was a whole row that was not on the show floor.
Yeah, it was weird. So like, again, it's so there was a like the printed map and the map in the app
at first, like they updated the app like after the show opened.
They had different layouts because companies just didn't show up. So there was like JJ saying, a whole freaking row, an aisle of people not there. Weirdly enough,
like that was one of the ones. Like Jagex was supposed to be there.
Man, if Jagex was there and I wasn't there, I'd be.
What's real funny though is that
Taylor was going to hit
Thursday,
that
Thursday, that whole aisleway was completely open. Yeah. Friday morning, and they closed Thursday. Whatever. Friday morning, we get there, and there are like two booths had opened up in that aisleway out of nowhere overnight. I think what was the and they also brought in at the
front entrance, they brought in the Sandland tank.
They brought in the Sandland tank. Yeah, so
it wasn't there Thursday, but Friday you come down and it's like all of a sudden the Sandland tank's there.
And
Cool.
tell them what you could do there's just a big line with the Sandland tank, and inside the Sandland tank
was the demo that like you could just
the demo that was
right
on
now.
Yeah. But there was a long ass line of people of like one screen playing the demo.
Yeah, it was literally one screen inside the tank.
Amazing.
It's a very good demo, by the way. I played that recently.
Torian, baby. So yeah, that was kind of a wild experience. But yeah, the show was sold out on Saturday, so that's good. We handed out our awards. I just posted my dissertation on the Bateman Lab stuff, so that was kind of fun.
The VARM chair.
The VARM chair. But no, it's cool. There's it was a still a fun experience, and I think
I will say this. My favorite part of the show was just hanging out with you guys. I didn't really care about much of what I saw at PAX this year because there wasn't really a lot that grabbed me, that jumped out at me, but just being around you guys was more than enough to make the price that I had to put out my pocket to get there was worth it. It's always fun. It feels like despite only meeting you guys in person a handful of times, it's generally felt like we've hung out a million times in person. So
yeah,
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I missed you, Zach. I had a great time with you last year. So
I'll be there next year for sure.
For sure.
Right.
Me, you, and Johnny are gonna split a room.
Yeah, there you go.
I've already confirmed that I'll be there. So
nice.
It's Mother's Day weekend this year.
Yeah, it's Mother's Day weekend. Who cares?
My mom doesn't live in this state. I'm not gonna.
Taylor and I and Ryan Gann are gonna be in the other room. We're gonna get Ryan's actually interested because he's typically off or could go off that time of year. So
okay, and it's like literally like my birthday is like days later too, so it's like
wow, flex.
Yeah. So.
But PAX East was a lot of fun as usual. But let's get on to today and talk a little bit about news. I'm doing this for no reason. Little bit of news. There wasn't a ton. Yeah, there wasn't a ton, but there were a couple things I did want to talk about. One was something. One is something that I had kind of known about for a while, and I didn't know how, because I'd heard through leaks about this product. I didn't know how to present it in the Discord, so I kind of kept it more on our like private Discord stuff, and then I ended up just kind of saying what it was, and lo and behold, the leaks have come out that here is a white Xbox Series X without a disk drive.
Yeah.
I read this as dickless for a second there. A diskless.
It is true, Your Honor. This man.
Yeah, fully digital Xbox Series X.
It looks so bad.
It looks so
like this.
It does.
There's like
it's just right, and it's supposedly going to be. It's going to be cheaper. Which is that's the other thing that it looks bad. And that's the other thing that I had heard too, that it was going to be like 50, like I think I posted it was like $50 cheaper. That's
barely cheaper. That's just a fucking
that's like a sale price, right? The disk drive probably doesn't even cost that much, but whatever. So this is their way of really pushing the all digital direction, and they want to get rid of the Series S because that is holding them back. If they want, they're going to have the next Xbox. They're going to have the Xbox Series X Pro coming out next year, right?
Yeah.
This year is this guy, and they've already said they got the next gen hardware stuff that's next year probably. And so that you can't have so many different SKUs out there sucking up, potential money that's coming in. So. Yeah, this was posted by Xputer. They posted the leaked images. Here, this thing is. It is a white monolithic thing. I like the white color. I like white consoles in general. I think they're just kind of cool.
Oh, I like anything that it has a pop to it, and white.
Yeah,
pops,
exactly. So, everything I have in my house is like black glass. So I'm like, I need to get
everything's piano black.
Piano black.
Yeah,
Um,
those are your two choices.
yeah, which list do you want? But so yeah, I mean, this is basically the budget Series X, right?
It's so,
This is the Series X Slim, is really what this is,
and
right?
it's not even slim. They
Not
didn't
even
change
slim.
No, it's
anything.
not.
They just put some spackle in the disk drive and
Yeah,
called it a
yeah.
day.
They hope you don't notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this will be this year. Still wondering why they don't have the puck.
Also, please just make the button white too. Like what?
Yeah, Donnie.
At the
Yeah.
the little sync button at the bottom, or the eject button.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is that button? Because wait, what is that button for?
I think that is the eject button. It is.
Yeah.
Well, no, it can't be. It can't be.
There's
the eject
no
button.
eject. So what the fuck?
So
What's
I'm
the
thinking
power
about my
button?
Xbox right
maybe
now.
that's the power. That's the power button because the
because
one
on the
below it. Yeah, the one below it
because
must
the
be
Series
the.
X, the power button is the Xbox logo.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I
Okay.
thought.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the eject button on the system.
Huh.
So I don't know what it's
Interesting.
got to be a sync button or something, and because
Oh yeah, it is probably the sync button for.
I mean,
the,
like there is no sync button like in traditional. Like I think if you hold it down, there's something different about it, but
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
whatever.
The only thing
What's
that's-
weird? What's weird to me is Microsoft is a partner with GameStop still, right? And
Yeah.
did that partnership
Somehow.
end? So
Yeah,
this is like this. If this is their future, digital only,
Mhm.
are they just cutting GameStop? Like, is that just done? Like,
So-
what's
I mean,
the-
like you can't use like GameStop doesn't let you do anything to get like points. Like you
Yeah.
can't get digital currency in any way other than giving them money. You used to be
money,
able to
yeah,
like
you can't use,
get it.
yeah.
You used to be able to do trade-ins and then use the trade-in credit to get digital currency, but you just can't do that anymore. So
Mhm.
I
like
mean, use coupons on it, man.
yeah. So I don't know what GameStop like how much money they make off of the digital currency stuff.
Right.
I have
So-
to assume like a lot based on people buying it for other people.
Mhm.
Like they know they can get it at GameStop. I don't know if they know that they could just go into the grocery store and get the same fucking thing.
It's just it's just a weird like business choice
Yeah.
from like a partner to be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
We're not gonna do that anymore. So I just
Yeah.
don't.
Well,
But-
no, so it's not. It's weird because it's not weird. And what I mean by that is we've been noticing already that Best Buy and Target and GameStop and other places have been pulling Xbox games off of shelves. Like it's difficult to go buy first party games at Walmart for Xbox. Like they're gone. Best Buy pulled a lot of the first party Xbox games. I think Starfield is maybe one of the only ones that are left, and they may only be selling the PC version. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Xbox has downsized their
they downsized
well,
the
even
physical
like
media group.
Yeah, even Disney is outsourcing all of their home video
Sure.
encoding
To Walmart.
to
Or
Sony.
Sony.
Now.
I'm sorry, Sony.
So
Yeah,
Sony's the ones producing Disney
yeah.
physical media now. So
I mean, it is a Sony. Sony owns Blu-ray and DVD.
it's weird that Disney is like giving them sort of like encode it for us too.
Yeah.
Let's just
But they're the hard disk is the spinning discs that we love. Physical media is going by the wayside because it costs a lot more to create. However, the problem with that is, as we've seen, is that all digital futures are not great because we lose access to games. Remember, there was that whole. I remember a few years back where people were saying, why even bother having disk drives? Everything's got to go digital. We just have to make everything digital. And now you can't access a ton of games anymore. Like they're all gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a double-edged sword because it's nice to have like I'm a physical purist when it comes to
me too.
Media in general. But at the same time, like it's extremely wasteful. It's extremely it takes up shelf space. It takes up a lot of different things, but at the same time, like, no big business can be trusted in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, what was Funimation got shut down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And got merged with Crunchyroll. And if you bought something through Funimation, like paid money for the digital copy, you lost it. Like, you don't have access to that anymore through that. So it's like, yeah, you are going to get screwed. Every single one of us has a game that we have paid money for that is no longer accessible through legitimate means. So, you know, Nintendo consistently makes it work, but they just go with weird proprietary bullshit. And like, fucking little Switch cartridges are like infinitely more portable and like storable than it's like the olden days. Like, you could literally throw those cases out and still be okay, and just have a drawer full of Switch games and be okay with it. That's how my NES games used to be. Nobody kept the boxes.
Nobody kept the boxes.
Throw them in the drawer, and like when you're ready to play a game, you dig through the drawer, pull out the game you want.
Except years later, when you look for the black sleeve and realize, I need something to store me. Rest in peace, physical media. Well, rest in peace, Embracer. Maybe, I don't know. Apparently they've sold their last company away, and they're done with downsizing, and that is Gearbox Entertainment. They sold it to Take-Two, which we figured if there was going to be any company that purchases Gearbox, it was going to be
Take-Two. Was always going to be the people.
They were always going to be the company, because they publish all of the Borderlands stuff. And by the way, there's a Borderlands. They've confirmed Borderlands 4. We already knew that was going to happen anyways. But
oh geez,
yeah,
you mean they're
460 million
to a very popular video game franchise that's about to have a movie come out. That's weird.
This is from Game Informer, but yeah, they sold it for 460 million. 3 years after Embracer acquired Gearbox for 1.3 billion in 2021. It's just. Oh man, Embracer. I know there's stuff that goes into this. I know there's stuff that goes into this. It's not, it's not apples to apples, but still.
I wish it didn't mean a bunch of people that had nothing to do with this lost their jobs, but at the same time, there is something sort of like, I'm glad you guys are imploding. You just fucked up a lot of shit, man.
Yeah.
It's fully Embracer's fault, but now sounds like that saga is over for now.
Speaking of fucking Game Informer, did you see, like, you can just get Game Informer now? You don't have to have a GameStop member. You can just get Game Informer delivered to your house.
No, I love that because for me, that's physical media, baby. And I love to read. I love to just sit and read magazines or leave them on my countertop or on my coffee table, because I will go back to a magazine if it's sitting there, or a book or whatever, but I'll never go back to an article. Once I'm done with an article, skimming through an article, I'm done. I'm never going back to it. But if a book is there, a magazine, I might pop it open again and be like, well, let me take another quick look at some of this stuff.
It's always fun. And it's always fun to look at something from like 5 years ago and just realize just like how absurdly fast the industry kind of moves.
And magazines remind me of a simpler time, like TV, where we didn't have everything based on apps. You just sat and you channel surfed, and you found something new based on channel surfing. That's what magazines are right now. You find cool games based on it. You're like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. I'm gonna come back to it later. And it's always there on the table. But again,
you get to sit there and read about Clay Fighters 63 and a third for like 4 years, and then have it come out and be a garbage game.
But guess what? You still kept
I remember that fucking
rental. Game. You remember that game?
Well, see, here's the power of magazines and early like message boards. So whenever I was in like 6th, 7th grade, I played Half-Life 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360, and I was so like, at that time, Half-Life 3 was a potential like, this could be a real thing, right? So I'd come home from school, go on the IGN message boards, and just like refresh and post and talk about Half-Life 3. And then one day I got a Game Informer with Gordon Freeman on the cover, and I lost my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be in here. And then it's like the history of Valve, the 20 years, like whatever.
Yeah.
But that's
Love
the
it.
power of magazines, because you didn't know what was coming. You got it. You're like, oh my god, it's gonna be in here.
It's fun to like go back and find the stuff that never came out. That was like, I still have the issue of Game Informer that had what was it, Rainbow Six Patriots on the cover. The Rainbow Six game that got canceled. Like,
there's two that I still have. The first time Gearbox showed off Borderlands before they changed
before
the
it got the cell shading, it was like a
And then there's like a game, I forget, like a PSX magazine or something like that, when Okami didn't have the art style that it has now.
Yeah.
Where it's like a completely different art style. I still have both of those because it's like, holy crap.
It's weird. I love, I have, digitally, I have like a complete archive of EGM and Nintendo Power and Game Pro just to flip through every once in a while sometimes for entertainment, sometimes for research.
And if you hang around long enough, JJ will spend 8.5 hours going through every detail on a side questing on a side quest with one. There, I love magazines. I still have like stacks of magazines and graphic novels. And what's funny is I've been reading One Piece. I'm like the farthest back of everybody, right? But as easy as it is to find One Piece for me online, I mean, they've actually posted a bunch of the volumes for free online as the show went live. I have it as a link. I have it as a link on my Google Chrome, and yet at the same time, if I have the graphic novel over there, for me, I will read that graphic novel and reread it a million more times, and I'll remember to than the link.
There's two things I'm going to say. First of all,
you're surprised I'm reading it in One Piece. That's
I'm surprised. Have you ever gone to Barnes and Noble and go to the magazine section and get baffled at how many magazines still truly exist?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
You just go there because you never see it, because it used to be the grocery store had like huge magazine aisle. Now
God bless Barnes.
Yeah, you go to Barnes and Noble and you're like, holy shit, there is still
we're there. We go to Barnes and we're there for like 4 hours because that's like one of our date nights is Barnes and Noble.
It's the Barnes and Noble is right next door to the movie theater I always go to. So it's always that's the day I'm gonna go see a movie and I'm gonna spend the rest of the day at Barnes and Noble.
That's awesome.
And I wish American Comics did what Shonen Jump did. Because Shonen Jump does that thing where it's like, oh, this is a new thick, what we call a trade paperback.
A tankobon, as they call it in
Japan. And it's just like a new issue, a new chapter of a weekly comic. Like if Marvel did something like that, where it's just like every week there's a new chapter of Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, and X-Men or something, it would be so fucking sick.
It would be so expensive though, because it's all color spreads.
But I still do.
Shonen Jump is black and white, so it's like easy.
Marvel used to do this really cool thing where they would collect. It was the Marvel Essentials, and they're done up exactly like tankobons. They're black and white newspaper stock, and it was just, they were like $10, and you got like the first 50 issues of something, and it was perfect. Like just make black and white versions of it. It's not that hard. Like everything starts out that way. Just have like, this is like, and you could just have them be like, its own separate imprint, or it could be anything. But I wish we would have figured that out here in America. That's a much better way.
I still have copies of my Wizard magazine, which I loved back in the day because it was a thick Wizard. Wizard comics is awesome.
So, randomly, but in Japan recently. So for Dolly, I don't think you're aware of this, but in the States, there's a big community of people that translate manga from Japanese to English. There was a group of people in Japan who would scan images of the Shonen Jump, send it over to American people, and they would have the fan translation out before the official one was out over here in the States.
Dude, I remember that because Famitsu was done the same way. They did it with Famitsu as well.
Right. Yeah. So that was a thing.
That's cool.
Until recently, police in Japan caught the people who have been doing this for like a decade plus, and they're in jail.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so now all the fan
That is
translation
wild.
groups that people have like been using for years just don't exist, because now
Oh my
that
God.
source is gone. So now it's like everyone's going to the official, like One Piece, the official whatever.
Sure.
So, because like I used to read One Piece on Thursday when the fan
Mhm.
translation would come out. The official translation comes out on Sunday. So now I have to wait. So because those guys are in jail and people don't want to touch it,
Risk
like,
it. Yeah.
They don't want to risk
it's
it.
crazy.
That's awesome. I think that's an awesome story. That's pirate. That's the Oda stuff that we love right there, like literally. Speaking of stuff that's not pirates, the last little bit of gaming news here, and this is a good one because it's going to lead into what we've been playing, and that is Dragon's Dogma 2 has sold 2.5 million units. Thank you to VGC for posting this. So yeah, Capcom says, hey, game's kind of a hit. The whole overall series has sold 10 million, and that's of course
That's
like
shocking
18,
to me.
That's like the 18 versions of Dragon's Dogma that are out. The original one, and
I own that game like 3 different times.
I think
because
so
it's
too.
Been like $5. It's I got it for like $5 on the Switch. I got it for like I think it came in a Humble Bundle at some point.
Yep. And that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. In fact, I own at least 3 copies of Dragon's Dogma because I think I got a Humble Bundle version of it, and then I bought the Switch physical, thinking I'm gonna play this game, and I got it for like $7.99, and then like a month later it was $4.99 or $3.99 or $2.99 on the Switch, something like that. I'm like, oh, I'll just buy this version then, and I'll leave the physical in the wrapping. So it's good sales numbers for the game. It's what, a couple weeks after, 10 days after its release.
That's
So that's
crazy.
Did it come out? It came out during PAX, right? Like that.
Yeah.
So
y'all were at PAX and I was gaming.
Yeah. You were busting dragons.
We were playing real video games.
Yeah.
Balatro.
That's who we were. But no, I think it's really good for this series because, I mean, there's so much pent up demand for the game. And when you think of like initial launches, like this has outsold obviously the original Dragon's Dogma's initial launch. I don't have those numbers there, but that thing definitely didn't make
Dragon's Dogma became a like for lack of a better term, a cult classic over the years.
Yeah,
it took a long time for it to get that 10 million.
Yeah.
But like over the years, everyone, word of mouth has always been super positive about Dragon's Dogma. So more and more people play Dragon's Dogma, and Capcom really did a good job at advertising Dragon's Dogma 2, which is not a very particularly common thing for Capcom necessarily, unless it's Street Fighter.
And what's also really interesting about it is that it's next gen. It's a current gen only, so it's PS5, Xbox Series, and is it PC as well?
PC, boy.
Yeah,
did you miss the PC disc?
No, I know. No, it's those 3. I saw it's also listed under GeForce Now, in case anybody has GeForce Now. But hey, Exagger Moose, welcome. But yeah, so it's those 3 main, the 3 pillars for these games, and it's not on PS4, it's not on Xbox One. Although why would you put anything Xbox One anymore? But sales wise, it's doing really good across those platforms, and I'm very glad to see more and more companies leaving the older platforms behind. I know they still want to cater to and sell to the PS4 stuff, and I know it still sells in Japan. Like in Japan, especially, they still buy stuff for PS4. But look at those Famitsu sales numbers, and every baseball game that comes out is like half of it is PS5, half PS4. But I think it's good. It's good for the platforms actually that this game is doing well, because it is really going to help push. I feel like push RPG makers to just go all in on the newer platform.
Like, as long as you make something competent that people want, it doesn't matter what you can sell 2.5 million copies within 2 weeks on the new platforms. It's
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to do it, guys. See, we've done it. We did it, guys.
We did it. We did it.
I
Yep.
think what really helped Dragon's Dogma 2 is the success of the Souls series in
Oh,
general.
yeah.
Like I think because Dragon's Dogma 1 came out between Dark Souls 1 and 2. So it came
Mhm.
out in a weird spot where people were like, I don't want to play that, I want to play Dark Souls, you know. But Elden Ring, I think, is what really propped
Yeah.
this game up to be
Yeah.
like, hey, like this looks like Elden Ring, but it's different. And the help of Capcom's marketing team, they've done a really good job of like having YouTubers and streamers and
Yeah.
people actually having their hands on with the game and playing
Yeah.
it. I think just them getting the game in people's faces, like we know you like that. Check this
Yeah.
out.
Mhm.
And
And
there's
it's
been
just-
so much of showing that like this is a legit RPG, but if you want to get silly with it, believe us, you could
If
get
you want to
silly
get
with
silly
it. Like,
with it. Yeah.
they let you know that you can make this game as serious or as silly as you want it to
Yeah.
be on your own, and it's okay. Like, they
Well-
leaned into that. So
let's move on to what we've been playing because someone has been playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and that would be Zach. So
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna start playing the video here, and you tell us.
Okay,
Tell us
so
about Dragon's Dogma 2.
the two games I've been playing are it's really interesting coming off of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and coming into this. I'll talk about why next.
Mhm.
But yeah, just Dragon's Dogma 2 is like it's a game that has a lot of friction to it. You know, the game pushes back on you and expects you to be like, oh, okay, like I can't do this, or oh, okay, that's what's going to happen. And it expects you to learn and adapt. And just how the world works in the game is just very hectic and crazy, but it's just a very straightforward kind of game at its core, right? So it's an open world fantasy game, and essentially you make your character and you make a pawn who's like your sidekick, right? And you basically like your quest is to go kill this dragon who's taking your heart. And the twist in this with this one is the person who gets your heart taken is this guy called the Arisen, and the Arisen is a person who can control the pawns. There is a guy pretending to be the Arisen, so you know he's not real because that's you. And you have to kind of infiltrate like castles and like these full on established cities and governments and things because they're already like tied to this false like god basically. That's just kind of it starts from like really like meek and meager to kind of big, but through this simple kind of like string, the game gives you multitudes. There's so much stuff within this world. Just navigating the world is pretty much like 75% of the game, because on one hand you can't swim, so you know if you see water you're like, okay, I can't do that, I need to go
Mhm.
around here or figure out a way to go over this and go up. So that is really interesting, but also the game's hard and it's scary. You can get killed by things pretty easy. So navigating, you have to use your eyes and like actually pay attention, because there'll be ogres and guys popping out of the forest and they'll just kill you. But if you stay on the road, things will be pretty decent. But if it gets dark, badder guys come out, and it's dark, so you can't see. So you need to have your lantern. But you have your lantern on, the light is pretty just like it's not bright, but you need to navigate this road to get home, right? So there's all these little things that happen from point A to point B. There's a lot that you have to do to get around.
Is this like I don't want to call it a road tripping game, but it does look like they're constantly moving. Like you're always going somewhere in this game.
Right. You're always
It looks like
going
Okay.
somewhere. No, because like so you have like these hub cities, you get quests, you go out and do things, right?
Mhm.
But like I said, it's just massive. There's just so much stuff there, and there's so
That
many
detail
little
is beautiful.
there's so many little strings pulling you when you
Mm-hmm.
go out. You're like, oh, like so your pawns, right? There's these things called pawns. So each person who's playing the game creates a pawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each player can have a party of up to 4, including you. So you have your main pawn, then 2 other pawns that you hire from this thing called the Rift. And these pawns are other players' companions, right? And they go on quests and they learn things, and then you bring them with you, and they'll tell you, hey, I know of this thing over here. Follow me. Or, hey, I know how to beat this thing up. We can fight it. Hey, I learned this combat trick. Or, hey, so like the game takes away kind of like the HUD and the UI essentially and gives you that through having these pawns. Like they'll lead you along. They'll be like, hey, there's a treasure chest up here. Or, oh, I've done this quest before with this other guy and we learned blah, 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 blah. It's really interesting. So no matter what you're doing, you're learning. And a character, one of your friends, will say stuff. And the game makes you recycle these pawns because they don't level up with you. Your main pawn does, but your guys you hire just stay at whatever you have them at. So you're constantly getting new dudes, and everyone knows different things. Everyone fights differently. Everyone has a different class. So you're just kind of like adjusting your party and trying to figure it out, and you're changing your class and your pawn's class and just like making all these cool little like parties and stuff. And it's so interesting because you have all those little threads pulling you with this story and all these other things happening, but you also have this interesting open world with people who are like, yeah, I need you to do this. It's over here, and they don't mark it on the map. So what do you have to do? You have to talk to people, and they'll tell you, "Oh yeah, I think I know about that. It's like it's past the first tree with the bird's nest in it, and you curve around the mountain." You're like, "Okay, cool. Well, thankfully I have this pawn who's done this quest, and he's going to lead me that way. But if you don't have that pawn, you're just kind of walking around." So, but then your pawn learns. And then if they go off on a quest with someone, they'll know where to go. So you have that, but then you have all these weird decisions with like items and with like how you're like the way you build your character, like the length of their arms and their legs determines how well you can like climb or how well you can walk up stuff. And the game doesn't tell you this. It just says, hey, you can adjust your limbs. You're like, oh, cool, whatever. But it changes how your character walks through water. How if your waist is too low, your lantern, when it gets touched by water, it'll go out. But if your waist is high enough, it won't. Like it's just stuff like that the game doesn't tell you. It's so interesting. And just like it puts a lot of trust in you. And it just has a lot of friction because it's like, yeah, you didn't know that. Haha. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like now I do, right? So it's so good, and it's rough around the edges, but in a good way, where it's like we're not dedicated to being too polished, but we have all this cool stuff, and we're gonna just like the sky's the limit, right? Like,
sure,
it's so good, and it's just a game that has to be played to kind of like have everything come together because there's so much stuff that happens that I'm talking about that you might not ever see because there's just like so much dynamic content that can happen from point A to point B. Yeah, it's so good. It's a game that I'm finding myself like not playing a lot of because I just want it to just exist for a long time. Like I want to come back to it, play an hour or two, and just kind of like, okay, that's fine. I did one quest. I fought a dude, and that's fine, you know. Yeah, it's sick. It's super cool.
It's a gorgeous game, like thematically and aesthetically. I'm like losing it over.
Yeah. So what is
I'll never play it. I know myself enough.
Yeah.
It's
I'll buy it, but I'll never play it. Is really what happens.
So it's like all of the stuff that Zach finds super cool and interesting. It's like I like it when a game can be antagonistic towards you, the player, but not like this way.
Right. So like since you guys aren't really gonna play it, the game. So Dragon's Dogma 1 and 2, there aren't sequels in like a sense. They're basically Dragon's Dogma 2 is just what they wanted Dragon's Dogma 1 to be. Like
Sure.
they got their budget cut when they were making the first game.
Redogma is what this is.
And
Redogma.
yeah, so this is just what they wanted to do with
Mhm.
1. So the big hook for Dragon's Dogma is once you beat the main boss, the character you're playing as becomes the boss in your next playthrough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a constant cycle of New Game Plus, you fighting your old self, things getting stronger, the world changing, equipment getting stronger, all this stuff. So it's a constant cycle of you just fighting yourself over and over again, which is awesome. And that's why a lot of people love the game, because you can do a lot of crazy stuff with your character and how they ascend, kind of.
Sure.
But yeah.
I don't know how to touch this particular subject right now that we're talking about it, but like, does Dragon's Dogma 2 follow suit in any significant way? Okay.
Yeah, it's no, it's the same game.
thing?
It's the same
Okay.
game as the first game.
Okay,
Like, it's the same thing.
I just wanted to know if that's how it was. I'm like,
yeah, no.
is it the same way?
Yeah, that's like the core mechanic essentially of the games. Like, if that wasn't in 2, it's not a Dragon's Dogma game.
It's like a really in-depth roguelike in its own way, like a ridiculously in-depth roguelike.
The meta way the gameplay design doc puts it, they released like a whole book about it, kind of, is they want the Dragon's Dogma games to kind of be like a campaign book for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, right?
Mhm.
So each game is a campaign, but how each player approaches that campaign would be drastically different, right? And that's just sort of their goal but it's also like every single player's game is existing at the same time. So they're all kind of like, they're all canon, they're all the real, thing, which is super cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then, okay, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I don't know. Have you beaten it, JJ?
No, I'm deep though. I'm deep.
Okay, I
down.
think I hate this game. I'm gonna go.
Oh, wow. There we go.
Because like I was ecstatic and so hyped for this game with the first remake game.
So no spoilers, please. In this,
I'm not gonna spoil anything. Yeah. No. So with the first remake, I fell in love with the way they told the story and the way the characters were. And I was really interested to see, like, what are they going to do next? Like, what's the next evolution of this newfound story, right? In Rebirth, the characters are amazing. They're still just as good. I love the characters a lot. That's the shining moment of this game is the characters, the story beats, amazing. But
sorry for the choppy visuals, by the way, because I'm streaming it from YouTube instead of having a video here. So yeah, continue.
But what made Remake so good, Rebirth lost. And people who have played both should know what I'm saying. There's some things that are lost in translation between the two. That what made Remake so cool to me is just kind of gone. But it's also, that's just kind of like a nitpick thing. Like, that's like whatever. Like, but what made me be like, I don't know if I want to play the next one is how this game is like, it has so much stuff in it. There's way too much junk. But what is so crazy to me is it's junk, but it's executed to such a high level that it's like they wasted a lot of time putting this in here. And I'm upset about that. Like, I'm upset that they wasted time putting a Kate Sith minigame that's required, Like, I'm upset about that because it sucks to play. But it's like, the game looks good. It controls good. Like, it's so great. But it's like, why is all this side stuff in here? Like, I get it because, like, on one hand...
Speaking of Kate Sith, yeah.
Right, he's the best character in the game, by the way. But what, like, is crazy about it is it's like the ultimate fan game. It's like, if you're a fan of this world, these characters, you're going to be obsessed with it, because I was obsessed with it until I beat it. And you can tell it's made by people who love the series and love these characters to such a degree that they're just like nerds, right? But it's also kind of the weakness of it, because it's like they're so dedicated to doing so much for these characters, for this world, for the gameplay, for the mini games, for all these things, that they just go so far. That's like, we need someone to rein this in. Like, there's just way too much here. You have too much money and nobody telling you no. That's kind of like where it's like this. It just needs more control. It needs to be way more honed in, and it would be amazing. And I just feel like they got way too much money. They didn't have any restraints, and they went crazy. And it's to the detriment of the game, because there's like,
I think me playing it extremely slowly has helped me in it, because it is a lot of game. If I tried to power through this, I'd be fucking done with it by now. I get so like, I find myself getting like, you know how some of these mini games are in Final Fantasy VII here, like that fucking the parade rhythm game. Like, do you know how many times I went through that until I like mastered it? Like, I played through that mini game 5 or 6 times until I got like the achievement needed for it.
Yeah, and see, that's how I was.
And it's part of the
it's a required part of the story.
It's a required part of the story, and it's also like, in terms of like the romancing stuff too, you need to like get that achievement to like go forward with some of the characters. So.
Right. And it's like, and like, I applaud them for being kind of ballsy with it. Like, yeah, there's this stupid minigame in the middle of like, you have to do this. Like, I applaud that. But it's like, I was a super fan of it in the first like third. I was like, oh my God, I want to do everything. And then I hit Costa del Sol, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to hate this game if I keep doing all this stuff. And what I think it really is, what is the open world, is that super catered, like checklist sort of open world game where it's just like, here's everything on the map. You need to do all this stuff, and once you do it, you're gonna get this stuff, and it's tied to this side quest and all these things.
Activate all of Chadley's towers now.
Yeah,
and you have to get all the towers, fight these four bosses, find these 4 caves, find these 4 other things, press the buttons in sequence. But also, these areas are huge, and each one has their own mechanic to navigate through. You need that special chocobo to fly or to swim or to. It's just like, oh my God! Like, somebody needed to step in and be like, hey, let's reel this back. But I also respect it, because like the guy who directed this, it was his first game, I think, or like one of his first big titles. Yeah, it wasn't the people who did the last game. It wasn't whoever the head guy was. He stepped back, and this new dude took over. But it's just like, oh my gosh, like it feels like an indie developer who like makes who's like wanting to make their first game, who's like, I want to do all these amazing things. And you're like, dude, you don't have that much money. But it feels like that indie dev had that money. He could just do it. And it's absurd. It wore me down. And then the story at the end didn't hit what I wanted it to hit. And I was very disappointed. And also, after I was done, I watched reviews and read some, and I feel like people were way too soft on the game. I feel like there's a lot of like being gentle with this title for whatever reason. It deserves some critique. There's some stuff, but yeah, right now I hate it. I'll probably come around to where I'm tepid on it, but it's just like, it's just absurd. There's just so much. There's a Kate Sith mini game towards the end of the game where you have to throw boxes to hit switches, and it's just like, it's a motion controlled mini game you have to play. So I don't want to do this, man. It's 2 in the morning. I want to finish this dungeon. Like, I know, but it's also like even if it wasn't 2 in the morning, I still be like, bro, like I don't want to motion control throw these boxes and then solo fight as Kate Sith through this dungeon. Like it's just kind of like, okay, dude, like chill. But yeah, 5 hours is what I clocked in on, and I
Wow.
rushed it. I rushed it.
You
by the
rushed,
way.
yeah. That's
So-
daunting to me, man, because
I ain't
I
rushing it.
can't.
I'm I ain't rushing it by any stretch of the imagination.
I need games that big. I need them to be portable.
I
Yeah.
rushed through remake, but remake was small, but in comparison
Sure.
to it,
I
'cause
miss
it
it.
was
40
very
hours.
it's
You miss it.
extremely
tight.
linear with no real open world. So
It stinks. But all right, very good. JJ, you want to talk about what you've been playing?
sure, why not?
Yeah.
At PAX, I got some board game stuff. That's fun. That's
Yeah,
what
you want
I've
to go
been
over
playing.
that?
Yeah, I got well, we both all of us got Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs.
Is it Gloomhaven or Gloomwood?
Gloomhaven. No, it's it's
Continue.
okay. But it's just a single player 20-minute
Yeah.
little experience set in that, like, it has lore. You were shrunk down
Yeah.
by a fucking evil fucking wizard, and now
Yeah.
you have to fight in a mini land, and everything in the box represents that, little tiny miniatures. It's a great little. I don't know.
I'm
It's
trying to
not
find
really
the video of it.
it's not really a deck building game. It's
Yeah.
just a card game, because you really only have there's 8 cards, but they're level based. You get 4 cards, and for your base, it's how you start off, and you have the scenario deck that you're going through, and
Sounds like Gloomhaven, baby.
it's
Mhm.
Gloomhaven. It is I hadn't played Gloomhaven prior to this, but I downloaded Gloomhaven.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I downloaded Gloomhaven because it was an Epic Game Store freebie several months ago. So now I'm also playing normal ass Gloomhaven on that, and I'll never
So
buy Gloomhaven or Frosthaven proper. I'm not going to spend $300 on a board game only for me, because I am never going to get anyone to agree to play.
You can.
any of
Hey,
this
the
with
thing about Gloomhaven is you can
Yeah.
play it by
by yourself, but I'm not
That's
spending
what I love.
$250 for a single player board game.
It'll last you a
Modern
year
board,
or
yeah.
2.
Yeah, but it's perfect for work, man. You
Mhm.
sit down on your lunch break, you pull out the next scenario, set down your cards, and play through the next scenario, and everything is sort of everything's die cut perfectly, so cards and stuff slot into each other and stuff, and it's just and everything fits in the box perfectly, and it's a perfect little travel thing. Yeah, it's for $20. It's a fucking killer little single player experience. I also got a Mega Man single player fucking deck building game from, I forget who makes it. Kess, I think, is the publisher now. I don't think it came out as Kess. It's a co-op game. You could play. It's from 1 to 4 players, and you get all these cards, and you play through Mega Man scenarios, and you get energy tanks, and you get stuff, and you choose your random robot master and fight against them. It's really fun. They kind of do this for a handful of different video game IPs. They also got Contra. And they got a Sonic dice
Sonic
game.
one was real in depth over there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's something else that I'm forgetting, but yeah, it's a little more in depth than the Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, but it takes a little longer to play and set up and kind of figure out what they're asking for.
Yeah, they were asking I think they were telling us. Well, I didn't see the Mega Man one. We looked at the Sonic one, but the Sonic one was I think, what did they tell us? Like 40 minutes to an hour at least
Yeah,
to play, because you're kind
yeah.
of running through Sonic.
Yeah, you're
Right.
kind
No
like the
pun
Mega Man
intended.
one. You're kind of going through levels in a weird
Yeah.
way. You've got to get like, this is my okay. I've got 2 jumps and a shoot, and I've got that kind of stuff. And there's dice rolls and stuff. Yeah, it's a little more. It's like, Gloomhaven is like you have 1 die, and
Yeah.
it just has a modifier on it, plus, minus, or neutral, and that's basically that's basically the core of the gameplay. Video game wise, the new Alone in the Dark.
Oh yeah, that came
Yeah,
out.
that came out. That is out. That's been out. Came out while we were at PAX, I do believe.
Yeah, and you got a review code.
Got a review code on PC. So I don't know where, like, I don't know why this game exists. Like, Alone in the Dark's a cool, like, piece of history. It predates Resident Evil, but it does everything that the original Resident Evil was doing before it was doing it. So, like, but Alone in the Dark just kind of fizzled away and kind of died off as a franchise. And to sort of come back to it and like remake it without remaking it, but then also like this game stars David Harbour, which is extremely weird.
For some reason, yeah.
Yeah, like when this scene first popped up in the game, like, man, they really want you to think that's David Harbour, and then he starts talking, and you're like, oh, that is David Harbour. And she's an actress too. I forget what her name is, but she was in it's a BBC show that I forget. It's gonna kill me until I look it up. So please bear with me for a second. Jodie Comer. She's
okay.
in,
Oh wow, Jodie Comer. Okay, that's right.
yeah, she supposed to be Killing Eve. That's what Killing Eve. She stars in Killing Eve. Yeah, and she was in The Last Duel. I don't know if anyone saw that movie.
Yeah,
oh my God, she's in Free Guy.
She's in Free Guy. Yeah, she's in Free Guy, and she was the sort of the main woman of The Last Duel, the last Ridley Scott movie that came out. So anyways, this game is a weird remake of,
hold on.
Yeah.
Look at his freaking face. Yeah, David in your face.
Looks like Alan Wake 1.
Yeah. A cool thing is it actually does have skins that you can make the 2 main characters look like how they did in the original Alone in the Dark. Doesn't change anything else. It just makes them look like they're Alone in the Dark 1 models, low poly nonsense. It's kind of cool. It's cool because this game is both a remake and not a remake. It kind of hits a lot of story beats, and characters are brought into it that were in Alone in the Dark 1, but then like also characters and concepts from like following games make an appearance in it, and it's definitely its own story, but its setup and general story are kind of identical. You're going to Deserto, the mansion, to find your missing uncle. And at the beginning, you choose between, do you want to be David Harbour or Comer? And it is a straight survival horror game at a time. It's got all of the old Alone in the Darks, Resident Evil bullshit. It feels like Resident Evil 4 and the over the shoulder, like it's as if you put Resident Evil 1 into Resident Evil 4, like that engine kind of thing. It plays like 4, but has all of the atmosphere of an original Resident Evil, or in this case, Alone in the Dark. It's leaning into the typical Alone in the Dark cult horror nonsense, and we always talk about it at our panel, but like for me, this is like a definitive 7 game. It's rough around the edges. It doesn't really. It plays cromulently.
Oh, geez, you're throwing everything on there. Crap.
Yeah, but like it's not doing anything particularly great, but I like the story. I like just a classic horror video game, and they pulled it off. I don't think it's for everybody. I think you have to be a really big fan of the genre to really love this game, but for me, it was the kind of game that I wanted right now. Like between playing like a massive game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the absolute soul sucking gameplay of Balatro, like this kind of game I just kind of needed right now, and I'm glad I got to play it. I'm glad it exists. I'd have a hard time recommending it to a lot of people. Like I don't think like either of you would be super into this, but like I don't know, if you pine for the olden days of Resident Evil, like this, give it a look, because this is just like an old school Resident Evil in a lot of ways. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's like I said, cromulent.
Good enough. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple games that I've been playing, neither for review. The first, I needed a sort of palate cleanse because I'm going through my backlog right now and just hopping from game to game, like Final Fantasy Remake and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Surprisingly, enjoying both games, and except for the visuals, Pokemon. And yeah, post Balatro, it is post Balatro Haze, and so just game to game to game, I'm kind of like taste testing these. And then I realized that I had somehow during one of those Best Buy buy two get one free deals that they had when I bought Christmas gifts. I'm like, oh, I'll throw Princess Peach Showtime in there, and ended up purchasing Princess Peach Showtime, not knowing what kind of game it was. Well, now I know what kind of game it is, and it is not a game for adults, and that is totes okay. So I'll just play the trailer here in the background. Princess Peach Showtime is essentially a bunch of themed short levels that are themed around like a different mechanic, like the let's say the ice skate. Let me pause this. I can show you guys some of these. So this is the thief mechanic, right? So you go around, you can sneak behind things, you can kind of steal gold and that kind of stuff, and then in other mechanics, other levels, you are wearing a different outfit. Let's see, this is sort of the basic. I'm going to switch over here. Here we go. Sword Fighter Peach, which is exactly what you think it is, which is essentially, it's just a quick little action game where you get a sword. It is very much built on like parrying this mode, these levels, but
like I said, because I played the demo and I said, well, it's got a parry and dodge mechanic, therefore Princess Peach is a Souls-like.
It is a Souls-like, but I mean, it's definitely aimed at like 7-8-year-old kid. It's not difficult. And to the point where there's that little dude. I gotta pause it over here. If you go to one of the little characters in kind of the main lobby area. Let's hit the play button here.
I was gonna say,
this guy right here, right? This dude, right? Yeah, I know. This dude right here, he'll give you like extra hearts and extra, it's like, hey, you can wear this charm and it makes the game even easier. So it's just an easy game. The one thing I will say is, I mean, it's great for kids. If you got kids, if you got young children, it's going to be perfect for them because they'll be able to play a Mario-ish game without it actually being a difficult time. But the animation, and doesn't show up in this trailer because I'm streaming through YouTube and whatever. The animation is actually really freaking good. Like great character I think Goodfield Games is making this, and Goodfield has done I think they've done Kirby stuff and other things in the past. But yeah, it just I think Nintendo's finally getting wise to. We saw it with Mario Wonder, and now with this game, really putting effort into in-game character animations where there's actual good levels of movement to everything. Unfortunately, somehow they managed to have 4 frames per second animations in the FMV and like the cutscenes, which is really bizarre because the actual in-game stuff works really well.
And
But
the loading screen
yeah,
lags.
the loading
is
screen
crazy.
lags. It's why, yeah, the loading screen. It's like this zooming whirlpool thing, vortex, and it lags. It's just so bizarre. But that's the Switch, and that's it's good feel games. Irregardless, it's a yeah. If you got kids, it's for kids.
Yeah, so
there's no reason to play it as adults, and I don't really want to review it as an adult. It's like, hey, I'm gonna give this to a kid, and they're gonna love it.
Remember when we were talking to that that Last Plane developer, looking at the last
Yeah.
and they were saying, oh yeah, we've got this running at 60 frames per second on the Switch, and I was like, wow, that's something that you can barely pull off. Good for you.
Sorry, you were gonna say, Zach?
Yeah. So I watched a grown man, Kyle Bossman, play through this game, and what is really interesting to me that I learned through his critique of it as he was going through it is, one, like, this game is pretty like marketed towards girls, right? It's like, oh, this is a game for little girls, but it's like, let's make it for absolute babies though. Like, girls can't play anything hard. Like, they can't be challenged or anything. It's just like okay, that's kind of weird when you think about it. Which is whatever. Like, I won't dig too deep into it. But the other thing that I think is really atrocious is the music is garbage.
It is not.
Music sucks. It feels
I've been playing it on mute.
It feels like you know when you watch like a Disney movie and then like some company makes like the third party ripoff. Yeah. And you watch that and it's like this sounds familiar, but it's just like it doesn't sound good. That's what it is. It's so strange. I don't know if it was like a budget thing, like when Nintendo was like, we want you to focus on animation and making competent levels and weird mechanics. And also most of the mechanics are you drawing a circle around something. Like I don't know, but the music is just atrociously bad for what the game is. It's a Princess Peach game. It should be, you know.
And I think that's like
that's what they did last time with Princess Peach too. But
like, they did. But this is a better game than that because she just crying was one of her mechanics in that game.
It was emotions. It was just emotions in general.
And so
women.
So they squarely aim Princess Peach at like young girls who haven't discovered Fortnite yet and are probably still. I'm not kidding. They're probably still playing. They love the Mario movie, and they went as a family to go see the Mario movie, and they're playing on their iPads a lot. And the parents will buy them this, like, hey, here's Peach. Very safe game, safe themes. There's no real violence in this because everybody's an actor in this game, so nobody's dying. It's just, they're called off screen, that kind of stuff. So this is as safe as can get with Peach. And meanwhile, the adults will play the original Draggin Dogma somehow on the Switch, and that's what this game is. It's I'm not going to fault it because a kid who is I was going to say a kid who is 6 or 7 or 8 isn't gonna. This game could have been completely silent, and they would have been totally fine with it. It could have just gone bleep blop bloop and nailed the demographic. And it's hard to judge these kinds of games, but it looks pretty.
Like, you can't just play as Peach in Mario Wonder. Like, it's
right. But that is a different game though. That is a different.
Mario's for boys, and it can be hard.
Yeah. So there you go. If you want Peach a challenge, Mario Wonder. The game that I have been playing, and I'm going to share my screen a different way this time. So I am in love. I've somehow fallen magically in love again with my Playdate. Apart from the fact that it's kind of busted still, but I gotta fix the crank. The Playdate's kind of on its like 3rd anniversary, 4th anniversary. I forget what it was.
Celebrating with a massive theft of.
Celebrating with a massive theft of like 4,000 of the Playdates or $400,000, whatever. Yeah. A ton of Playdates were stolen, pallets worth in Vegas, and so much so that was the GDC talk from from the developers. And the great thing about the Playdate is that let me share my screen here. Is that it is a phenomenally easy tool to develop for. They give you a free developer development engine online. You can go in and bleep blop bloop, and in like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you can have a quick little game created and ready for sale on the Playdate catalog. I mean, that's how easy they make it for you, because they really want to make it developer friendly. And before that, so here it is. Here's my little Playdate here. I'm streaming it. Before that, remember, the Playdate was just something that came with games preloaded. It's like, hey, every 2 weeks, you're going to get, every week, you're going to get a new game for the next 6-8 weeks, whatever. And that was their first season. And they said, you know what? We have Wi-Fi on this thing for updates. Let's push a whole second season out. So they pushed the second season out. And they said, why are we hamstringing this? Let's actually put an app store, put a store on this. So now they've started selling. Other people are developing games, making them. And one of the ones, again, there's the variety is incredible because of stupid little crank. Which, watch this, ready? I'm turning the crank on here and it's turning. I just love it. One of the developers that Lucas Pope created a game called Mars After Midnight, and this game is so freaking cool. This is almost a Taylor-ish game, but definitely a Zach game. Here, lean in.
Lean in.
So what the game is you run a community center that functions after midnight on Mars, and you're an alien. So right here, I got my little disk drive. Let me pull this sucker down. Can I do this? Oh, I hit the A button. Boop. Oh, I hit both buttons because right now I'm controlling two different tentacles. So you run there you go, hold it down in there, let the disk feed, and bloop. I turned the sound off so that way you guys don't hear everything. It's the Off Colony Community Support Center. And essentially what it is, so I did NAT knife handling, and it's refreshments provided. Essentially what this game is, it's a series of a bunch of, like a series of mini games. And your whole goal is to help the aliens on Mars, help the Martians through their problems in all these different ways to the community center. There's a whole map of like the community that shows up that you can kind of target different types of Martians. Like there'll be Cyclopses, 2-eyed, 3-eyed, and each of them have different types of problems. You can target different zones because some areas have more Martians that need help than others. You can advertise like, hey, I want more Martians from this zone to show up. So I'm going to put more money in advertising there. You make money from them showing up to your community efforts, and they'll drop like little money in. So it says accessory available. So there's, oh, cool. So here's what happens. Oh, there's an accessory there. I got a zoom lens now. Check it out. So I got the zoom lens, so I can move this second. Hold the button, move it around. The design and art is just gorgeous. Yeah, I'll just look around here. Cool. I can zoom in and see stuff. Is there anything? Oh, somebody's moving here. What's that person moving? And so there's, you'll kind of catch people doing stuff, and that's it. So every kind of session starts with the door, which is what I'm peering through the door right now. I'm going to close the lid. Nice. There you go. So, someone's knocking on the door. Okay, let's open and see who's looking. Oh, somebody's here. Let me zoom in. It's a gnat holding a knife. All right, I'm going to let them in. So I'm going to hold the button. Boop. Let's let this gnat with a knife in. Where are they? They flew in there. The gnat's coming in here. And look at that. This portion, the gnat just made a mess. So I've got to use my little tentacles and see that little thing. I'm going to point up here. The little thing in the corner, top left there. It's like a little schematic of what needs to be placed where. So let me move this out of the way here. I'll just put it down here for now. And I got to take all these bowls and get them in place. And oh, someone's coming. I better go over here and answer the door. Should I answer or ignore him? I'll answer. All right, let's check it out here. Someone's knocking. Oh, that's not a gnat. Sorry, bro. I'm leaving you. You're not a gnat. Forget it. Because I just broke my Playdate again. So I'm trying to close this thing. Sorry, bro. I'm not interested, and I'm gonna go away. So, but you can open the door by tapping A if you want. Oh, someone else is knocking here. Who else is knocking? No.
This
What
is
do you
right
want, bro?
down.
Get out of here. Is there a gnat floating around? No, there's no gnat floating around. I don't see a gnat here. But I love the design of the characters, the Martians and stuff. I'll let this guy in. That way you guys can kind of see what some of the stuff that happens. So I'll let him in. Shopping with Sturb. Uh-oh, what's going on? Cartridges, recipes, and more. So he's selling me stuff. A translator for I have $12. Let's see. He's shopping. Should I buy the translator? Should I buy the session cartridge, boxing brush up, the cracked skull crew? I'll buy the translator. That's cool. Yeah. All right, let's pay. And thank you. Good business. So I didn't realize that you could do that. But yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna close this sucker and oh, someone's knocking on the door. Let's see. Oh, it is a gnat. There you go. Is it a gnat with a knife? Nope, it's not a gnat with a knife. So therefore, I'm closing the door. You can only let in gnats with knives. Let's check here. Is that a knife? Nope. Sorry, don't have a knife. It's got to be a knife. Oh, let's check it out here. Does it have a gnat? Nope. Not a gnat with a knife. Sorry, guys. You're not getting in my area here. But it's interesting because let's check this guy here. Nope. He's back. It's just a different dude. So there's like all these different kinds of aliens, and let's check these guys out. And do you have a knife? Yeah. All right, you're coming in. I'm letting you in here. He's just a little guy holding a knife, flying in. He's gonna make another mess. Nope, he flew off. All right, it gives me time to clean things up. And so there's also a little sweeper thing in the back. So I'm gonna grab this. Grab this thing. Put it down here. I'm gonna grab. So it's got a lot of these little like mini games. Like one of them is like right now I'm helping these gnats. There is a mini game where you are trying to keep. There we go. Let's set up. You're trying to help cyclopses who have like ADHD, and you're trying to prevent them from like you have to like use a noise, like make a loud noise. Oh, cool. Come on in, bro. To find out who flinches. And so you like crank it and make the loud noise. And there's another one where called Farty Party. And you're kind of checking for farts and stuff. What's going on over here? I got 3 gnats here. So it's just a silly little mini games. But when you get everything kind of figured out from the let's go to the session. No, I gotta get enough people here. When you get it all kind of figured out, and you've helped enough of the Martians and stuff, it's just a cool little management thing here. Okay, let's open this door. Oh, what do you got for me, bud? What's going on here? Oh, it's the delivery. I've got a delivery. Okay, let's check this out. What's this delivery? Receive the item, the Blabodex. Nice. So you can kind of collect items that'll help you in later aspects of the game. It's just cool. I'm really impressed at the depth of this game from just what they've done on the Playdate, what Lucas Pope did on the Playdate. So
did you know that one of our JPAG brothers is a Playdate developer?
Who was that again? It's
Mike.
Yes, Mike who?
Susak, you're
never heard of him.
Never heard of him? Never heard of him? Yeah, I know you haven't heard from him in a while.
No, I don't know who that is. Mike's blocked me because doesn't like my Detroit Lions.
No, he takes
hot take.
He takes his football very, very seriously. Too seriously, I would think. But
yes,
but I love him.
Yeah, it's just a fun game. I'm looking forward to. Okay, so there you go. The Blabodex is here. I can do a little screenshot. Bam, I got that. I can go home. Bam. So just kind of close out the game. But there it is. Mars After Midnight. It's cool. Lots of cool, fun things in there. Definitely recommend it. Get a
Game of the Year contender.
Yeah, surprisingly,
I need to get my hands on it.
Love it. Just silly. Anyways, that's that. I'll stop sharing that screen. Really, really worth it. If you got a play date, if you don't have a play date, buy a play date. If you got a play date, play that game. Okay, that's it. We're done. An hour and 30. Look at that. We knocked
Play
it out.
date.
It's
How
fun,
much
fun.
are you?
I'm gonna go play. Oh, he's actually checking. Maybe if you can find one of the ones that were stolen.
Yeah. They were at PAX West. I was surprised.
Were they?
Like, they had a huge
Oh, nice.
fucking setup at PAX West.
So I'm gonna let me go to the Playdate website.
Like 130, aren't they?
So there are. So let me go here. So this is the. I should probably share. I'm gonna make myself a freaking Playdate. It's called Pulp. Their online making tool. So you can make games. You can.
Okay, we can't sit here and for another half an hour as you make a video game, Dally.
No, hey, I'm pulling a JJ, and let me go into every detail. Look at the little star here. No, I'm just saying this is their free online development system, and you can actually go back and look at all the different games that they've made, based on that stuff. So it's cool. Here's Mars After Midnight. The games are all cheap. The games for Playdate are like $4 or $5. Like the most expensive one was like $10. I just bought that like a little while ago, but and they got Pulp, which is their dev system. You can check out a bunch of games that were made using they got RPGs, strategy. It's cool. Very neat. That's it. Playdate, Mars After Midnight. Check it out. I'm going to let you guys go because I'm done. I'm cooked. I'm going to play some video games here, not Mars After Midnight because that'll last me until midnight. Yes, there is a cool composer app on that Zero. There's a lot of cool little apps there. There's a museum app that's really kind of neat. So yeah, with that said, check us out in the Discord. Find a link at sidequesting.com or don't. You can find us sidequesting.com, sidequesting TV on YouTube and Twitch, sidequesting on Facebook. Why not? That's where Lisa, our top fan, is located, which is always great. And you can find us all individually in the Discord. You can find us all over the place, wherever you want to look. Just look for us. Our links are down in the notes and stuff, but just look for the Discord. We're all happy in there. We're a good crew that continues to grow and share and love and have all good stuff. So with that said, we'll see you all on the next episode of Zach, you say it.
The SideQuest.
Bye.